But let's go ahead and talk about the region that actually managed to win a MSI trophy. Let's go ahead and look at our LEC power rankings. Of course, we have G2 Esports at the top. No surprise there. Origin falling right under them. And I think that's our point of contention. Let's go ahead. We have Fnatic in third, Rogue in fourth, and Excel in fifth. Origin over Fnatic. I maybe wouldn't expect to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Origin have looked better. You have to remember, for people looking at this, that all three of those teams are tied. So it's just a matter of how good they've looked in their wins. I really like how Origin kind of try to suffocate their opponents. I think they have a lot of control in the games that they play really well. I think, obviously, the matchup against G2 was another barometer that G2 are like all the way up here and Origin is not there yet, despite the fact that they were considering this their timing window. They're like, this is the roster that we specifically want to try to challenge G2. And as we talked about in the LEC segment, G2 are only improving by swapping Perks back to mid lane and having Caps in the bot lane in route to evolving into the next level of whatever they're going to become. But I do like what Origin's doing. I do think they're a really smart team. And based on what I've seen from Fnatic, I think by the end of the season, Fnatic might still be a better team because of reasons we talked about already. But for now, I think Origin has definitely looked like the superior team.
I agree, actually. I mean, I think Origin right now look like the better team. Death's team, maybe aside, he's had a few bumps in the road.
Still a couple of hiccups.
A couple of hiccups. I mean,
he was a big reason that I think Origin fell behind against G2, despite the draft. He got picked out.
He also lacks the most experience, right? Like, he did get to play at Summit Worlds because he was on Mammoth, but give him some time.
I think the thing about LEC is that it's very I feel like there's tiers, right? There is the clump of XL, Rogue, kind of like the dark horse teams, and then you have Origin and Fnatic trying to be the finalists. That finalist here, and then you have G2 tier.
Against G2.
Yeah, G2 is in their own tier.
Who's going to take on G2?
It's the G2, and it's the G2 tier, and I think the storyline of LEC display is who can stop G2. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they put Mickey X in mid lane one week. Who really
Let's go. I want to see it. Let's go.
Power of the Weebs. Power of the Weebs.
Here's the thing. I think G2 is playing, and Jacob talked about this with Carlos's interview, is that they're trying to not just beat the other teams, they're trying to beat the game, which I think is crazy, right? Is that they're trying to change how the League of Legends is played professionally, where they want to have a positionless League of Legends, where 5 players can go anywhere they want, anywhere they can, very Dota-like in how they would play, right? So I think when it comes to G2, they're not looking at Fnatic or Origin or Rogue or Excel. They're looking to beat League of Legends and trying to do something in League of Legends that no team has ever really done before. And if they can reach that, that nirvana that they're trying to look for, trying to find we can have 5 players play at any position at any time. Ooh, look at us. If they do that, they will win the World Championship just by getting there. So right now, I think it's the G2 tier and then the 2 final. I think Origin, Fnatic battling for who's going to lose to them in the finals. No offense to either of those teams, but G2 is just too dang good.
Yeah.
I mean, G2's obviously a league ahead, a tier ahead, rung ahead. However you want to, whatever metaphor you want to.
Their own region.
Exactly.
Yeah, their own region.
But I want to double down and say that Origin G2 match, despite the draft, was not as far-fetched and a little bit closer than what people are giving it credit for. And I want to specifically single out Alfari, who did have to play Rumble against Soraka. I think that his job in that match was to just bully on a resourceless champion, bully the Soraka and try to get her to burn through her mana, win that lane, and hopefully that transitioned.
Right.
Did it work?
Buff Morel and Omicron.
Exactly.
LX healed it all back.
Got to bust through the window.
So it didn't work. But however,
work.
Alfari himself still went 3-3, had a good game overall. He still won his lane, and he had a CS advantage over Wonder. And I think Alfari is a really big, calling him out. He's a really big bonus for that team. He's 8-3-17 across 4 games and 4 champions.
Here's my question with that, though. Because Alfari is so experienced on Rumble, wouldn't he be able to pose some sort of objection to drafting Rumble against a Raka when you know that Raka can kick some serious Rumble booty? And this may be a question maybe for Emily or Tyler as well.
Well, I mean, I don't know. So I don't know how they were approaching the matchup or how they thought about it. I never know what goes on in draft. I do think it's typically more of a collaborative effort than
We can
people
only
think.
speculate wildly.
Yeah. In terms of G2, though, I actually think this is like the hot take time for me. I think that the team that showed more holes in G2's game were actually Mad Lions, despite the fact that they were completely outpaced in the mid game, right? Like just absolutely, completely outpaced. I think their early game showed some of the holes that have always been in G2's early game. So if you can find a team that's super powerful, that can take advantage of G2 in the early game, maybe that's something that other European teams want to look at and be like, we want to follow this blueprint.
I mean, there is a phrase, I'm going to butcher, but there's a phrase along the lines of, I don't fear the guy who has practiced a sword cut 10,000 times. It's like you put a sword in a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. Look, the master is not going to know what to do against that because he's never faced someone who hasn't practiced with the sword. Mad Lions probably fits that metaphor a little bit where, hey, we don't know what they're going to do. They're all young, inexperienced, so they're going to try some crazy stuff.
Well, I think Mad Lions knew, like specifically like Shadow's pathing in that game, I think they knew what they really wanted to do early, and I think we've seen people exploit G2's early holes before. Fnatic did, and in their final series, and it was really, really close. So that is the key to beating G2 for me. Now, G2 is also trying to elevate their own game, as we talked about, right? But I think if people do want to look at G2's early game, they might also want to look at what Mad Lions did in that.
I heard a lot of team executives who were like very much like, if we can't beat them, then just go super cheap rosters. And I heard that from a lot of people that built these rookie
And
rosters.
make good content. That's what I believe.
Misfits, Vitality, Mad Lions, all the people investing in young talent. And holy crap, Mad Lions is making it work.
Yeah,
Like,
so I want to
that's
talk about
impressive.
Mad Lions right now, though, because they're not shown on our power rankings chart here, but they are listed as number 6. And this is a team of all rookies and humanoids. And exactly as you said, they are finding the wins. They are making it work, and they are looking pretty impressive
Best of the rookie
as this
teams
band
by
of
Well,
rookies.
they're also looking kind of
They're looking a little
unimpressive at
sketchy
times.
at times, but still, let's say
I say this,
impressed.
I'm probably
very
like the
impressed.
biggest Mad Lions, fan here, or like, not fan, but like I really have liked what they've been doing. So I think, Mad Lions are a really fun team to watch because of that. You just do have to expect that they will make more than a few mistakes.
Yeah, so Emily, I'm going to cut you off because Tyler just gave us like the worst stank face as soon as we said that Mad Lions were interesting to watch. Does that closer to what you believe in?
No, I like Mad Lions. I think Mad Lions is a good team, but I think it's like we're comparing it's like comparing a souffle to dog food, right? And I think
Okay, hold on. At least say like that fancy dog.
I think this thing of like, oh, Mad Lions are so good. It's like they were supposed to be. I think if we were all quizzed during the kickoff show a few weeks ago, and it's like, oh, which rookie team, which surprise team can maybe make some noise? We're all like, oh yeah, it's Mad Lions, Carzy, insanely good young player. Shadow surprised us. Frostcairns warned us about Shadow. It's like, so I don't think it's a surprise that Mad Lions are doing well. I think they're actually playing to what we expected. They're very talented, very young, and they're making a lot of mistakes. So I think they're very much on that Rogue timeline, right? Where Rogue kind of came in with Inspired, Finn, Larson. When they came in, they finished 5th or 6th, and then upset a team in the quarterfinals and Splice, and then lost in semifinals. I think that's what we're going to look at with Mad Lions. I can definitely see them upsetting, an Excel or Rogue, possibly, beating, their younger selves in Rogue. But I think that Mad Lions is where they need to be right now. I think they deserve praise, but I don't think it's a shock. I think this is the team where they should be.
I think that in the end, it goes back to what we were talking about in terms of burnout, peaking at the right time. They have a whole split to really work this and get this right.
They have a whole year.
And they're doing it. And they're doing it in the stronger of the two regions. I think that the practice that they're going to get, a Mad Lions in the middle of the LEC, will probably be able to contend with most, 3 through
Most LCS teams.
3 through 10 LCS.
Potentially on a tangent then, what's more surprising to you guys? The fact that Mad Lions is doing well, or the fact that Schalke kind of did not?
Schalke. I'm more surprised
That's
that
more
Schalke is on the
surprising?
brand. Yeah, I think Mad Lions is where they are a wildly inconsistent young team, showed a lot of promise. did that. I mean, I really like Darren's metaphor of when you give a newcomer a sword, you have no clue what they're going to do.
Phrase.
Yeah.
It was great. No, I loved it.
I maintain that they knew exactly what they wanted to do.
They are not the
early.
samurai
It was
team
just the
that-
rest
You
of
give
the
them a
game.
sword, they're
Okay.
supposed to cut things, but you don't know which way they're going to cut.
Too bad they had to play the samurai team in their first game.
All right. All right. Well, you know what?
To answer that question,
Let's
though,
hear it.
I actually am not surprised by either. I think that Schalke was going to be bottom of the pack from everything we talked about on the kickoff show and from everything, and again, Scrimbucks here.
Tyler's making a huge face at you right
Scrimbucks.
now.
Not that bad. Like, not 0-4 bad. Maybe
Yeah, not SK Gaming levels bad.
Not Vitality
bad.
Ooh.
To be fair, Vitality
I mean,
is missing Milica. They are playing with Seiken
Yeah.
because of visa issues as well.
Yeah,
but
visas.
I will say I'm not necessarily surprised that Schalke is, because they've had a rough schedule too. That Schalke is where they are, and I'm also not that like surprised, although albeit impressed that Mad Lions is doing as well as they are.
All right, well, I do want to wrap up the LEC Power Rankings, but I will do so with one more question from Twitch chat. This is actually kind of like a nice bridge. This is from Rebby again. Where would Cloud9 place in the LEC right now?
third.
Yeah, I was gonna say-
Third.
I think
Third.
they'd be weirdly in that clump of like we're looking at
Origin,
Origin, we're looking at Fnatic, we're looking at Rogue. I think it'd be really interesting to
think
see them go up against like a Fnatic, an Origin, especially Origin actually, just to see both of their early games go up against each other.
I think Origin and C9 are very comparable. I think those are the two teams I say, like, I think in the power rankings, I was asked, like, how do you rank these teams out of 10? I both gave those two teams the same score. I think they'd be second or third. I think Cloud9's really good, and they have a lot of good players. I know, and it's a testament to C9's, training that 3 of the players are homegrown, which is amazing. That we're talking about
2 of them from Scouting Grounds.
Yeah, on the same Scouting Grounds team, Team Ocean, Vulcan, Blabber, and Licorice. 3 young NA prospects that Cena have brought along, and they're actually good. It's almost like, actually investing in NA talent sometimes breeds results instead of, going over to Korea or Europe and, going to the bargain bin and it's like, a slightly used import player here. I'm going to bring him back. Maybe invest in NA talent.